More about the electoral college votes. Well, let's get more now. We can speak to Amy Bello, who is a voting representative for Democrats abroad, who joins us now from Paris. Very good to have you with us. It's been a complicated year for the United States. A terrible outbreak of the pandemic, which had a terrible impact on the on the economy, which in turn left millions of people out of work. And yet Joe Biden still didn't manage a conclusive victory, if indeed he's won at all. Why not?
Well, we don't know that it's not a conclusive victory just yet, as a matter of fact. All while the voting has stopped, the counting has not stopped. So we're going to find out what's happened in those last remaining states. Biden could, at this point, still win by over 100 electoral votes. So we'll see what happens with that. While a lot of people, but to answer the first part of your question, a lot of people are out of work and feeling hard times, and they are looking for some kind of way out. There is an aspirational group, if you will, that thinks that Trump is somehow going to reach down and help them, even though he only helped people in his own or higher wealth class than himself with his rich person's tax cut. But then there's also a huge majority of people who believe that actually Joe Biden will do that. In fact, even though, as you just pointed out, the U.S. election does not get decided by popular vote, right now Joe Biden is up by just about 3 million popular votes. So I do believe the American people feel, on the whole, that Joe Biden is the best of the two candidates for the economy and for all of the other issues.
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering, though, I mean, to have got a conclusive result, I mean, what I really mean was one that, you know, we would have had in the early hours of the morning as we, European time, as we would have had, say, last time around and we've had in the past. I mean, do you think in terms of campaigning, perhaps Joe Biden went a little heavy on the pandemic, and according to exit polls, people weren't that interested in the pandemic. It wasn't their most important issue. It was, of course, the economy, and perhaps shouldn't he have bigged up his economic credentials a little bit more than he did?
I hear what you're saying, but I do think that he actually did speak to the economy quite a bit. Remember that the votes that are coming in now and that are being counted now are the mail-in votes from people like myself, a Democrat abroad, as well as lots of folks from outside of the United States who reside outside of the United States. And so there is going to be quite a significant blue shift. So I'm not sure that the premise actually of saying that he's not finishing strong, or that I understand that people wanted to have a decisive win early, that would have maybe proven something specific, but it's a different landscape this year because of the pandemic and because so many people sent their ballots in. So I'm not sure I agree with that premise.
Okay, what for you was the biggest upset of the night? I'm assuming you were watching very closely, like most of us, throughout the course of the night. I mean, it was probably Florida, wasn't it?
Well, Florida, yes, Florida was. For me personally, though, I think that a recent call that's really upsetting is Susan Collins, the senator from Maine. So I'm thinking more state by state, because we're looking at trying to take the Senate for the Democrats at this point. And so her winning in the state of Maine was actually quite an upset in my eyes. But certainly, yes, Florida, although Florida's a bit tricky. The demographics shift a bit in Florida, and so I wasn't really thinking personally that Florida was going to necessarily pull it out as a lot of other folks did.
Okay, we're getting word that President Trump is going to sue to stop the vote count in Pennsylvania. He says there's a lack of transparency. For people who aren't aware, people who aren't in the United States, I mean, is this something unusual that vote counting should carry on after it's so late into the electoral process? What do you make of his challenge that this should just come to a halt?
Yeah, actually, I think his challenge is undemocratic. The way that elections happen in the United States is that every vote is counted. And until every vote is counted, the election is not over. The voting itself has stopped, but the counting of the votes is still continuing. And so to say that, no, we should stop counting the votes at midnight as of Election Day it's disturbing and it's undemocratic. And he's trying to disenfranchise the American military, who votes from abroad and sends their votes in. Lots of American expats who reside abroad but send their votes in, as well as a lot of older folks in the United States itself who chose to mail in their ballots instead of having to stand in lines because of COVID or for a variety of other issues. So I find that is well, frankly, I find it disgusting that the President of the United States, the person who's supposed to be the beacon of democracy in the United States, is saying something that is so patently undemocratic.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for sharing that with us, Amy Bello, voting representative for Democrats abroad. Thank you. The Austrian Interior Minister has